Nothing more we can do. Those words didn't sound real. They sounded rehearsed, like dialogue from a movie I didn't want to be in. Like he'd said them too many times before, to too many other parents who sat in this same chair, under this same fluorescent light that made everything look pale and lifeless. I stood there, frozen, my hands clenched so tight my nails cut into my palms. The pain was good. It reminded me I was still here, still standing, still breathing, even though part of me wanted to collapse right there on his sterile office floor. No hope? I asked. My voice didn't sound like my own. It sounded distant, hollow, but had learned to fear. Green was good, red was bad, and lately there had been too much red. The doctor didn't look at me when he said it. He stared at the folder in his hands like if he looked up, he might have to feel something. Like if our eyes met, the weight of what he was about to say would become too real for both of us. The office was too clean, too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your heartbeat sound like thunder in your own ears. "Mr. Johnson," he began, and I already knew. The way he said my name with that careful, practiced gentleness. I knew what was coming. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "There's nothing more we can do." Those words didn't sound real. They sounded rehearsed, like dialogue from a movie I didn't want to be in. Like he'd said them too many times before, to too many other parents who sat in the same fluorescent light that made everything look pale and lifeless. I stood there, frozen, my hands clenched so tight my nails cut into my palms. The pain was good. It reminded me I was still here, still standing, still breathing, even though part of me wanted to collapse right there on his sterile office floor. "No hope?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like my own. It sounded distant, hollow, like someone else was speaking through me. He finally looked up at me then. His eyes were tired, kind, defeated. The eyes of a man who'd fought battles he couldn't win and learned to accept surrender. "Mr. Johnson, I wish I had better news. I really do." He set the folder down on his desk. "We've exhausted every option, every treatment protocol. We consulted with specialists in Boston, Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic. Surgery won't help at this stage. The damage is too extensive. Medication has shown no effect on slowing the progression. Even the experimental therapy we tried last month showed no response." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "At this point, all we can offer is comfort care. We want to make sure Amara's remaining time is as peaceful and pain-free as possible." Comfort. The word hung in the air like smoke. My daughter was 7 years old. 7. She still believed in fairy tales. She still asked if we could get a puppy someday. She still sang made-up songs while she colored. She lay in the hospital bed just down the hall, her small chest rising and falling under thin white sheets, machines humming softly around her. Tubes, wires, monitors blinking numbers I didn't understand but had learned to fear. Green was good, red was bad, and lately there had been too much red. Comfort was not enough. Comfort was not acceptable. Comfort was surrender. But what else was there? I nodded because I didn't know what else to do. Doctors expect you to nod when they say things like that. They expect you to be reasonable, to understand medical limitations, to accept reality. "How long?" I whispered, the question I'd been too afraid to ask. "Weeks, maybe a month. It's difficult to say with certainty." "Weeks." My little girl had weeks. "I'll give you some time," the doctor said, standing. He put his hand on my shoulder, briefly, awkwardly, and then he left. When the door clicked shut, I broke. I walked down the hallway like a ghost, past the nurse's station where Laura usually worked. She knew Amara's favorite color now, always brought her purple ice pops. Past the family waiting room where I'd spent countless nights, unable to sleep, unable to leave. Past the photos on the walls, cheerful pictures of flowers and sunsets, as if beauty could cover up the reality of what happened in these rooms. I pushed open the door to room 347. Our room. That's what it had become. We'd been here so long it felt more like home than our actual house. Amara was asleep. She was always sleeping now, her body too tired to fight anymore. I dropped into the chair beside her bed. My chair, worn smooth from 6 months of constant use, and pressed my forehead against the mattress. The smell of hospital soap and antiseptic. The sound of machines keeping count of every breath, every heartbeat. The feeling of complete, utter helplessness. "I'm sorry," I whispered, over and over. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." My shoulders shook. Tears soaked into the white hospital sheets. I didn't know who I was apologizing to anymore. To her for being unable to save her. To God for failing to have enough faith, enough prayer, enough something. To myself for believing money and success meant I could control the universe, could protect my family from everything. I built an empire, closed million-dollar deals, solved impossible problems. But I couldn't solve this. 6 months earlier, my life looked nothing like this. I was the kind of man people envied, the kind who made it look easy. Success in business. Big house in the suburbs with the pristine lawn and the 3-car garage. Money that solved most problems before they even became problems. My wife, Sarah, used to joke with her friends, "Marcus thinks money can fix anything." And I did, because up until then it could. Need a better school for Amara? Write a check. Want to take her to Disney World? Book the whole suite. Problem with the house? Hire someone to fix it. Life was a series of problems with price tags attached, and I could afford every single one. I used to believe Sarah when she laughed. I thought she was being playful, affectionate even. I didn't realize she was trying to warn me, that she saw something I didn't, that I was building my entire identity on sand. Then everything changed. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I was in back-to-back meetings all morning, and my phone kept buzzing. I ignored it the first 3 times. When it rang the 4th time, I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "Mr. Johnson? This is Principal Matthews from Oakwood Elementary." My stomach dropped. Principals don't call unless something's wrong. There's been an incident with Amara. She collapsed on the playground. The paramedics are taking her to St. Catherine's Hospital. You should meet them there. The rest of that day was a blur. I remember running to my car, running through red lights, running through the emergency room doors. I remember the nurse saying, "She's in Bay 4, and not being able to find Bay 4 fast enough. My heart hammering, my hands shaking. When I finally pushed through the curtain, there she was, my baby girl, unconscious, so small on that big hospital bed, an oxygen mask over her face, and 4 in her tiny arm. Sarah was already there, holding Amara's hand, tears streaming down her face. "What happened?" I asked. "They don't know yet," Sarah whispered. 1 minute she was playing, the next she was on the ground. Marcus, her whole body went stiff. Her eyes rolled back. The teachers said it looked like a seizure. A seizure. Amara had never had a seizure in her life. She was healthy. She was perfect. "The doctors are running tests," Sarah continued, her voice breaking. They said they need to do a CT scan. Check for brain abnormalities." Brain abnormalities. Those 2 words changed everything. That was the first night I slept in a hospital chair. The first of many. They admitted Amara for observation. Ran test after test. Blood work. Scans. Neurological exams. I stayed by her bedside while Sarah went home to shower and grab clothes for an extended stay. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew we weren't leaving until we had answers. Amara woke up around midnight, confused and scared. "Daddy? Where am I?" "You're in the hospital, sweetheart. You had a little accident at school, but you're safe now. Daddy's right here." "My head hurts," she whispered. "I know, baby. The doctors are going to help you feel better." She reached for my hand. Her small fingers wrapped around mine, and I held on like she was the only thing keeping me from drowning. "Daddy? Am I going to be okay?" That question. That terrible question that I didn't know how to answer. "Of course you are," I said, forcing confidence into my voice. "The doctors here are the best. They're going to figure out what happened and fix it. You'll be back at school before you know it." She smiled then. That beautiful, trusting smile that broke my heart. "Okay, Daddy. I believe you." She believed me, and I was lying to her. Or maybe I was lying to myself. At first, the doctors were optimistic. Dr. Patel, the pediatric neurologist, was young and energetic, the kind of doctor who still believed in good outcomes. Children are resilient, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Their brains have remarkable plasticity. We caught this early, which is excellent. Every time they said things like that, hope flared in my chest like a match in the dark. She's strong, Dr. Patel assured us. I've seen kids bounce back from worse. We clung to those words. But then the tests came back. Then the scans showed what they'd feared. Then came the long meetings in quiet rooms with too many chairs and not enough light. Conference rooms where hope went to die. Dr. Patel wasn't smiling anymore. He brought in specialists, neurologists, oncologists, genetic counselors. They used words I had to Google later. Degenerative, progressive, irreversible. It's a rare neurological condition, Dr. Patel explained, his optimism replaced by clinical precision. We believe it's a form of leukodystrophy, a genetic disorder that affects the white matter in the brain. What does that mean? Sarah asked, her voice trembling. It means the protective covering of the nerve cells is deteriorating. As it progresses, it will affect her motor skills, cognitive function, and eventually her ability to breathe independently. The room tilted. Can you treat it? I demanded. Surgery? Medication? There has to be something. Dr. Patel's face was grave. There's no cure for this type of leukodystrophy. We can try to manage symptoms, slow the progression with steroids and anti-inflammatory medications, but what? Mr. Johnson, I need you to prepare yourself. This condition is aggressive. Most children with this diagnosis have a life expectancy of 1 to 3 years from onset of symptoms. Sarah gasped like she'd been punched. Couldn't breathe. 1 to 3 years. My daughter was 7 years old, and they were telling me she might not see 10. No, I said. No, there has to be something else. Other treatments, experimental trials, something. Dr. Patel nodded slowly. We can certainly explore all options. I'll connect you with researchers who specialize in rare neurological disorders. But I want to be honest with you, the likelihood of finding a treatment that can reverse the damage is extremely small. Extremely small, but not impossible. I latched onto that thread of hope like a drowning man grabbing a rope. I didn't prepare for the worst. I refused to. Instead, I fought. I paid for the best specialists. Flew Amara to clinics in Germany, Switzerland, California, anywhere someone claimed they had a treatment that might help. I tried experimental medications with names I couldn't pronounce. I enrolled her in clinical trials that required us to drive 4 hours each way, twice a week. I read medical journals at 3 a.m., highlighting passages and emailing researchers I'd never met, begging them to look at Amara's case. I joined parent forums where other mothers and fathers were fighting the same impossible battles, all of us desperately trading information like treasure maps to a cure that might not exist. Money was no object. I liquidated investments, sold properties, borrowed against everything I owned. Sarah pleaded with me to slow down. Marcus, you're exhausting her. You're exhausting us. I'm trying to save her life, I shouted back. But at what cost? Look at her, Marcus. She's miserable. She's in pain. It would have found the right one yet. But deep down, in the part of my soul I refused to acknowledge, I knew the truth. We were losing her. No matter how much I spent, no matter how hard I fought, we were losing her. I used to pray, not the desperate kind of prayer, the polite ones, the ones you say before meals because that's what you're supposed to do, the ones you mumble before big meetings, hoping for luck disguised as blessing. But after Amara got sick, my prayers changed. They became angry, accusatory. I found myself in the hospital chapel late at night, the only person there, staring at the simple wooden cross on the wall. If you're real, I said one night, my voice echoing in the empty room. Fix this. You can heal people, right?